Hi, Professor Bowman. So I want to talk about Halocephalobus gingivalis, or H. deletrix, as we talked about a little bit in class. So basically, Halocephalobus gingivalis, or H. deletrix, so there are basically 8 species of free-living nematodes, and H. deletrix is the only one that is actually a parasite. It's a facultative parasite. We found it in horses, zebras, as well as in humans. So there's very little known at this point about their life cycle and the way that they actually get into different organisms. So there are only 7 cases known in humans, so it's actually very rare in humans. But there is a few more cases that have been found in horses. There have been 65 cases actually found in horses. And so in horses we find them in the brain, kidneys, mandible, maxillary bones, and eyes, and they cause a granulomatous infection. So basically, where do we find these in nature? We find them in the soil, plants, and manure. They are actually in both they have both males and females, two separate organisms, males and females. And so we have found them actually in the larval form, so probably asexual within the tissues of horses, but we've also found them in the adult form in humans, and we've also found free-living males in the soil, so that's sexual. And so basically, we find it more widespread in horses than in humans, as we just discussed. 65 cases have been seen in horses, with only 7 in humans. All the human cases have actually been seen in North America or the United Kingdom. And so they appear to demonstrate neurotropism and cause meningoencephalomyelitis or meningoencephalitis in humans. So basically, the first case I'm going to talk about is this one right here. It's the case of a 65-year-old woman in Florida in 2013. So initially she was admitted to the hospital and was diagnosed with a urinary tract infection, sent back home. But a week later she showed back up with a fever, nausea, vomiting, and mild congestion. 3 days later that had progressed to blurring of vision, and she had some sensitivity when she touched her temporal region. On the 5th day of her readmission, she experienced respiratory failure, had to be intubated, and she had some pulmonary edema. That's what caused that. So basically, she died 2 weeks after starting to experience these symptoms. Microscopic examinations revealed female adults in the brain, female adult nematodes in the brain, in the spinal cord, and the meninges. And they also found swelling of the liver, coronary artery disease, and the brain had actually lost its shape. So we had seen 3 examples in class, and so usually we see the worms getting in through pre-existing lesions. However, in this case, there were no pre-existing lesions. So again, that mode of transmission is not very clear. And they're thought to move through the body by hematogenous spread and to spread into the, to penetrate the blood-brain barrier. So that's a few things that we know about how they're actually working in the human body. The last case I'm going to talk about is a very recent case, 2014. We actually saw in the United Kingdom. These 2 men actually received kidneys from the same man. So basically, a 39-year-old man was admitted to the hospital and died of meningoencephalitis, but nothing else was known about the cause of the meningoencephalitis. He had cirrhosis of the liver and was an alcoholic. No further research was done on that, and so he was actually rejected as a donor for his kidneys at 2 other hospitals before he was actually accepted to be a donor for these 2 men. Nothing was told to the families about the man's condition, except for that he had meningoencephalitis. So he actually donated his kidney to a 42-year-old man and a 67-year-old man. 3 weeks later, they actually both died, unfortunately, of meningoencephalitis. And so they did an autopsy on these men, and it revealed H. gingivalis in their cerebral nervous system. And so this is the first case we've actually seen of human-to-human transmission of these nematodes. So prognosis is not really great. We've seen 2 horses that have been treated with ivermectin. However, their disease was actually extra CNS. So the problem with these drugs is that they don't penetrate the blood-brain barrier. So in human cases, as we've seen them all in the CNS. And so using similar drugs, we're going to have different results. We're not going to be able to penetrate the blood-brain barrier. All cases we have seen in humans have been fatal so far. And also in the U.S., neurohemolithiasis is not very common, and so a lot of doctors don't actually suspect it, and it's very hard to find actually in any way besides doing an autopsy. So there's not a lot of methods to find it, and there's not a lot of great ways to treat it either. So prognosis isn't great, but we are learning more and more as we're seeing more cases. Thanks.